Will XRP be used as the new petrodollar? Well, it appears as though the current petrodollar system is losing power as the US dollar is losing power, and something is likely to take its place in the coming years. To show you why this may be, I'm going to explain to you what the petrodollar is, its history, and why the petrodollar's dethroning will likely impact the global economy significantly. And then I'll explain how XRP is potentially well positioned to be implemented in global trade of oil and other commodities. So, the petrodollar system is a monetary arrangement in which oil exporting countries agree to sell their oil in US dollars rather than their own currency. The system was established in the 1970s and was a way to help support the value of the US dollar and to ensure that countries would have a steady demand for dollars. And as a result, countries that import oil must hold dollars in order to pay for the oil, which helps to prop up the value of the dollar and the US economy. The petrodollar system was placed during the 1970s Cold War era, and they used it to maintain the power of the US dollar. And the reason they needed it, in my opinion, was to strengthen the US dollar through military might, since President Nixon suspended the gold standard in 1971, which in turn weakened the dollar of its intrinsic value. The gold standard means the US government is not allowed printing more money without increasing their amount of gold reserves. I will talk about this in greater detail in my next video, but here it is in a nutshell. As time has moved on and money has been continually printed for the last 50 years without gold reserves increasing with it, this has led to a reduced value of the US dollar. Thus, the petrodollar system is no longer as dominant as it once was. In fact, many countries today have started to trade oil in other currencies or with other forms of payment, such as barter trade or gold-backed currencies, which in turn has weakened the role of the petrodollar system. Some of these countries include China, Russia, and Iran, just to name a few, and they're all trying to get away from the dollar system because it is not favorable for anyone anymore except for the United States. And when small countries like the OPEC countries, so OPEC stands for Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, and when small countries like the ones in the OPEC nations try to leave the petrodollar system, it spells trouble for the United States and has caused conflict in the past and probably will in the future. OPEC is an intergovernmental organization made up of these 14 countries here, notably Iran, Iraq, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela. These countries are responsible for a significant portion of the world's oil production and export, and they use their collective bargaining power to coordinate and unify their petroleum policies. The organization was established in the 1960s, and its main goal is to secure fair and stable prices for oil-producing countries while ensuring a regular supply to consuming nations. There has been instances, like I was just mentioning, where OPEC nations have attempted to reduce their dependence on the dollar system. Let's see how it turned out. In 2000, in the year 2000, Iraq's Saddam Hussein announced that Iraq would no longer accept US dollars for oil sales, but instead accept euros. This move was seen as an attempt to undermine the US dollar's dominance in the global oil market and reduce Iraq's dependence on the petrodollar. However, this move was not successful, and look what happened right after their announcement in 2021. After this, Iraq Saddam Hussein was villainized, and then this led to an invasion of Iraq in 2003, at which eventually the Saddam Hussein regime fell shortly after that. And then the continuation of the petrodollar system, until today. Venezuela also announced in 2018 that it would no longer accept US dollars for oil sales and instead would accept other currencies such as euros, yuan, or gold. And this move was also seen as an attempt to bypass the US dollar system and maintain access into international markets. The US doesn't want that. And furthermore, just recently, Iran announced that it would be accepting or trying to avoid the US dollar system and accept payment of oil in rupees, in Indian rupees. Overall, though, despite many attempts, these have not been successful in changing the global oil market in a significant way, as the US dollar continues to be the dominant currency in the global oil market, and the majority of international trade in oil is still conducted in US dollars. So despite all of that, and the petrodollar system being in place and still being relatively strong, not as strong as it was before, the US dollar itself has become volatile, and it's actually upsetting these countries more or less trapped in the petrodollar system. So the US dollar has been losing value through inflation since the end of the gold standard in 1971. So since that time, interest rates have remained fairly low for around 50 years, up until today, where interest rates have been skyrocketing, which increases the value of the US dollar because people need US dollars to pay back their loans, because most loans on international trade are denominated in US dollars. The volatility of this is sending shocks through the system and is making people not want to be a part of the US dollar system, let alone the petrodollar system. So, as we've talked about, the OPEC nations have been working to reduce their dependence on the US dollar by accepting payment in other currencies or alternative forms of payment, such as bartering, trade, or digital currencies. So this is interesting because sometimes trading fiat currencies can be like barter trading, because some currencies don't have as much liquidity as the US dollar, so it can be difficult to get your hands on them in a timely manner when facilitating a trade. Liquidity, by the way, is an issue Ripple is trying to solve with their on-demand liquidity product, which digitizes currencies and allows them to be traded at the speed of light anywhere in the world, as if you're just sending an email. The future of the petrodollar is likely to have two paths, and maybe you can let me know which seems more likely. Either barter trade currencies, so like bartering and trading currencies and commodities like that, or using digital currencies to trade currencies and commodities. Well, barter trading for currencies can be difficult for a number of reasons. One is that it can be difficult to find a trading partner who has what you want and also wants what you need. This is known as the double coincidence of wants problem. It's the reason we have money in the first place. Because that's what money solves, is the double coincidence of wants problem. Additionally, barter trade can be difficult to value, as the value of goods and services can fluctuate and be hard to compare. Another reason is that barter trade can be difficult to scale, as it may require a large number of transactions to acquire a diverse range of goods and services. Lastly, it can be difficult to record and monitor, as it often does not involve money or other standardized forms of payment, which can make it hard to track and account for. Meanwhile, there are several advantages to using digital currencies, and especially trade in oil, which is what we're arguing. So digital currencies, the advantages of using oil to trade digital currencies. are it can be transferred very quickly and easily between parties, reducing the need for intermediaries and speeding up transactions to lightning speed, or the speed of light. Yeah, the digital currencies, they're way less expensive. They don't require forms of payment that are more expensive, like wire transfers and credit card transactions. It's also based on blockchain technology, which means it's stored on a transparent and immutable ledger, which includes all transactions. This can help to increase transparency and reduce risk of fraud or errors, which the current cross-border system, 1 in 10 transactions don't even make it to the end, and need to be filled in with some spare accounts, which they call like Nostro accounts. So another advantage is that anyone with an internet connection can use this system. Also, in the case of XRP, you can use it without an internet connection, which is quite amazing, and regardless of location or banking status. This can make it easier for smaller countries as well to participate in international trade. It can also be less affected by currency fluctuations and political instability, making them more stable form of payment, especially in the case of XRP, because the transaction speed is so fast that there's little to no chance of volatility from the beginning of the trade to the end of the trade. Digital currencies can also be decentralized and not controlled by any central authority, as is with the case of XRP as well. This can make them less susceptible to government intervention or manipulation, which is the beauty of this new digital era. It is worth noting also that digital currencies have some risks as well as some advantages. The biggest one right now seems to be regulatory challenges, although there has been significant improvement, and it seems as though regulations will be established sooner than later, and a lot sooner than we think, maybe like a couple years from now or less. Okay, so to recap, the Petrodollar System is an agreement between OPEC countries led by Saudi Arabia and the United States, where oil is priced in dollars. The agreement was put in place to protect the value of the dollar, as every country needs dollars to purchase oil. Right. War has been a potential consequence of political maneuvering on the petrodollar system in the past, and the possibility of countries accepting other currencies for oil trade may shake things up, to say the least. The timing of the partnership between Ripple and Saudi Arabia, or the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, in the area of cross-border payments and international currency settlements is remarkable. The timing is just remarkable. Considering their role in the petrodollar system, they will be able to utilize Ripple's technology to explore new ways of conducting cross-border payments and international currency settlements. The use of digital currencies and distributed ledgers has the potential to significantly reduce the friction and costs associated with traditional cross-border transactions. However, despite the excitement around this new technology, it's also worth noting that the Saudi Arabian government has not made any official announcement on whether they will be moving away from the petrodollar system. Although if that happened, then we would know, because there'd be probably a large conflict. However, with the increasing interest in digital currencies and the potential benefits they offer, well, the proven benefits they offer at this point, it's possible that we may see a shift in the way oil is traded in the future. Only time will tell how this is going to play out, but it's important to keep an eye on the developments in this area, as it has the potential to significantly impact the global economy and all of our lives. So please remember this: you will need to own something with intrinsic value and be patient to become a legend. Thank you.